Hey, it's George Hardy from Troll 2 and Best Worst Movie and Texas Cotton, and we're here from the Cinema Psycho Show, one of the world's best podcasts. So come on out and listen, and just remember, you can't piss on Cinema Psycho's show. Oh, God.
Nailed it. That's it right there.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh, my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm not Brian Coddington. What the hell is going on?
Oh my God, it's just the two of us.
With your not host here, not today, Brian Coddington, and your co-host, John and Elaine Woolscroft.
But you're John, and I'm Lane, and I'm confused. I feel like that toddler that was left at the mall.
You're not Brian. I'm not turned on this week at all.
I know. It's an unfortunate turn of events.
Yeah, guys, we have a very unique episode this week. First and foremost, Brian is not joining us for this one here.
Second and foremost, hi.
Yeah. We are doing kind of a unique episode. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a thing. I think it's just going to be kind of an experiment for this week.
It's just a thing that happened, let's say, you know?
So we're doing a combination pantheon of other shit here, and with an interview at the very end of it.
A very awesome interview, let's be real. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So the pantheon is 1988's Hobgoblins. An amazing...
It's a classic.
Horror film. When I say amazing, amazingly bad.
He always means amazingly bad when he says amazing, folks.
And we're talking at the latter half of this episode with one of the actors in the film, Daran Norris. Lane, do you want to tell our audience where they may have seen or heard
Absolutely.
Daran from?
So it's so funny because if you go to the Wikipedia article for Hobgoblins, on the phone version of it, there's only... actually on the phone version, mobile version of the site, just the director and Daran Norris are the only people that you can like go to their own Wikipedia links. But Daran Norris, he's an American actor. He's a voice artist, and I thought this was interesting. His wiki says that he's voiced characters in more than 400 films, video games, and television programs. So he's got quite the resume. What I think is cool about this is that he was on Veronica Mars, which I loved. He plays a lawyer named Cliff. He's currently in iZombie. He plays like a slimy newscaster character.
You're right.
Johnny Frost. And he's like the weatherman, but then he branches out into other stuff. He also was Spotswood in Team America, which John and I watch every summer on the 4th of July.
I am stupidly excited about that fact that we're interviewing Spotswood.
Oh my God, you like did it. Oh my God. And then a lot of people will know him from The Fairly Odd Parents. He played Mr. Turner in that. You know, he's done a huge body of work. He's done a lot of, different animation things. And under additional voices, I mean, there's so many shows that he's done. He did a lot of work on Star Wars: The Clone Wars. He has a
Rocky
credit He's a credit from the Powerpuff Girls. So it's super cool, guys. He's from American Dad as well. He plays Jack Smith on that. So, I mean, the coolest interview, like, from the nicest guy. So I'm real excited for you guys to check that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say when you say, Lane, this guy is kind of a big deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's definitely the biggest, I would say the biggest star we've had.
Yeah, and the fact, that he was willing to give this, like, little podcast that could the time of day, like, means a lot.
It does, because, I mean, it's great to have like a guest like that and to give us a little bit more to dig our teeth, sink our teeth into for the show and everything. So it was really awesome. And then, there's a little bit in the interview where he actually does the Spotswood voice. I'm not going to lie to you, dear listeners. John and I almost crapped our pants. It was the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, he put my name into it, so now I can die a happy man.
It was so great.
Like, if a doctor told me I had cancer tomorrow, I'd be like, well, Darren Norris did Spotswood and put my name in it, so I can die now.
It's been an okay year. So, but yeah, and
I didn't want to ask him that because I'm like, I don't want to seem like some
do the voice,
fanboy
so
jerk.
annoying. Yeah, it's so annoying.
Do that thing, that you're famous for, and then he just did it
organically.
Because he was so amazing. He was like such a natural entertainer. You know what I mean? But not in a weird way. Just like very genuine, very kind. So that'll be the latter half of this episode. But I don't want to downplay Hobgoblins too much.
No, we got to get it on.
This movie is a national treasure.
And it's funny because like this is a classic, and I recognize that going into this. But man, like some of these older movies, like you just have to
when you say classic, what do you mean by that?
A classic piece of garbage. I mean, but and like not to say anything though, because it's funny because when you get these movies from the 80s where they had like no freaking money and they just kind of like went for it. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. I mean, you can look as a film critic and you can look at like something, say like where 10 years prior, like Halloween was a very low budget movie that they just went for it, but like with this, you can see where they tried to like do something with no money and it didn't work in the same way. I mean, I think that's fascinating. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. Like, so the year is 1988, John, it was 30 years ago. You and I were 3 years old. And
I wasn't born yet. Yeah.
I'm sorry, honey. I hate to break all this to you. Hey, Sidney Crosby was alive when this was made, so that makes me feel a little better.
He was 1 year old, which probably means he already had 10 goals in a league somewhere. Is it the infant league?
14 assists.
Yeah,
definitely. So it was the year 88, and then this was just kind of a film that was obscure for a while until Mystery Science Theater, of all things, kind of brought it more to the forefront where people got to actually see it.
You know that you're a bad movie when people only know it because of Mystery Science Theater.
That's very true. But I think it's especially true of this. A lot of people accuse this of ripping off Gremlins, and it's kind of that same formula with like little things pissing everybody off, and they're the source of all this unrest, kind of like your favorite movie, Elves.
Oh, they're not working for Santa
anymore.
But on the Wikipedia page, they have the description here as a low budget, which
that's being kind.
You're in a bad territory when that's the first thing that's said about your movie. American low budget independent comedy horror film. And Elaine, I'd like to propose a question to you.
Certainly.
Because I think this is what happens. My question is whether or not you agree with this. I think they started this movie deadly serious, and then they made the puppets and they looked like crap, and then they started shooting some footage and they realized that it just wasn't like coming off scary at all. And I think at that moment they made drastic changes to the movie to make it comedic and goofy and silly, because that way it covers all matters of sins, right? Like, oh, this movie isn't really that scary. It's like, oh, well, we never meant to really actually make it scary. It's supposed to be kind of like funny. We're winking at you, aka we failed, and now we're going to put humor in it to cover that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what the classic The Room, attitude, right? Like, it was supposed to be comedy. Yeah, and it was supposed to be this like beautifully serious movie until everybody just laughed and it's like, oh, it's a dark comedy. Like, no, that's not what dark comedy means. I think you're onto something there. I mean, what the interesting part of this is this was directed by Rick Sloan, but he wrote, produced, edited, and was the cinematographer. So I mean, he is the auteur, like sink or swim, like this is his film. Like, you cannot really put any more artistic ownership on a film than you can put, this movie onto Rick Sloan. And his filmography is interesting. He worked from about 84 to 2009, according to his IMDb. And he doesn't really have much work in that time. He worked a little bit in the late 80s and then I would say the early 90s to about 98. And then he does Hobgoblins 2 in 2009, and that's kind of it. Like, he doesn't have a ton of credits otherwise.
Yeah.
I think that you're onto something by saying that, by making it a comedy, like he's kind of backtracking. I think that that's probably valid, because that was one of the problems. They didn't have any money, and the special effects artists, when they came through, and they didn't have a lot to work with when they had to do the puppets. They came back and like. I think they actually like went to bring them out, and everybody was like, "Oh no, like it didn't work. It didn't look right," And
that's only the beginning of the problem for this movie.
It's a big fucking problem, though.
When they say like an Empire Strikes Back, like you watch those featurettes, they say, well, if the Yoda puppet didn't work, this movie wasn't going to work.
I really don't think people understand what a gamble that was. I mean, you have someone like Frank Oz, who is absolutely enormously talented in that regard. I mean, what he did with Yoda was brilliant, but if he had failed, we would probably be talking about The Empire Strikes Back, that terrible movie that George Lucas did that doesn't work.
That first Star Wars movie, that one was actually kind of good. What happened to that franchise?
I heard they were going to do a third movie, but they never did because the second one sucked. Right? I mean,
like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is, too. Not the sequel. I meant as well.
Right.
Like if they don't nail those turtle suits.
Right, it doesn't work, and I mean, I don't think people understand that as well, because I think that that's taken for granted that like if your puppetry doesn't work in a film, you're sunk. I mean, like that is the thing, Yeah.
So the puppets didn't work, so they're like, let's make it funny, but this movie has everything that's wrong with the kind of movies that we talk about here on the Pantheon,
right?
And there's just simple things too. Like it's supposed to be the Hobgoblins are being kept prisoner in a back movie studio lot, and in a vault, and the place they shoot. Now you can literally use anything as a backdrop, and as long as it's not distractingly not a Hollywood backdrop, people will believe it. And they shoot the ugliest, grayest, plainest building you've ever seen in your life. And that's something they teach you in your first year in film school. Like, don't just have somebody standing against a white wall talking on a phone. Make the shot dynamic. Have something to the scene that you're in. And this movie constantly has people walking down empty hallways with cinder block walls and houses that have nothing dynamic about them. Like, there's no art direction to this movie. Everything is plain, awful, and just flat. The word, you hear that word a lot in film. Like, the shot is flat. Like, there's nothing dynamic about it.
Right. No visual interest.
Yeah. And obviously, the acting is horrendous, except for Daran.
Okay, so I will admit we are both a little bit, excited about the interview, but like
we sold out, man.
We're excited about the interview, but if you know John or I personally, you know that we are very honest, and if we like or dislike something, you are going to know. But I can honestly say, like, no butt kissing motivations. Like, Daran seems like he's the only person that's even having fun on set, and we even said that to him in the interview.
I would say the bouncer guy as well.
You think?
Both
That's
of them,
fair.
They both seem like they're kind of riffing a bit, like they kind of created their own characters. They're not really being directed, and they're actually like having fun while doing it. So I would say those two are the only ones that are having a good time and actually putting some effort into it, because you can kind of see it in a lot of these movies, like the performances where day 2 or 3 the actors start to say to themselves, this isn't really working, is it?
Or this isn't going to make money, is it?
I'm going to be embarrassed. Like, I just told all my friends and family I'm in a big, major movie production.
Wah, wah.
And now I don't want them to see it because I know it's going to be fucking horrible.
Right. Well, now, forgive me. Yeah. So the one of the famous things that that you see, like with the especially with the Mystery Science Theater, it's Amy who does that dance because she and her boyfriend are gonna go.
No,
that's that Daphne. Damn, I always get them confused.
As Wikipedia refers to her, sex crazed Daphne.
Sex crazed Daphne. Well, that actress seems like she's having a little fun. I feel maybe not so much towards the end, but like in the beginning, especially when she's being goofy like that. Like that isn't so painful to watch. But John, do you want to run us into like a I don't know, I know we said we're going to do like a mini-sode here. Do you want to just run like a quick overview of what is the deal with this plot?
Yeah. So there's an elderly security guard who has spent his entire life dedicated to keeping these hobgoblins locked in the vault of a movie studio. And the big trick with them is that if you get close enough to them, they create this fantasy in your mind that you feel is real, and then they use that to kill you.
And we don't really ever know why they need to kill us, right? It's not like,
or why they need to use a fantasy in order to do it.
It's not like Troll 2 where they have to like photosynthesize us and turn us into plants to eat us. That's a real plot, guys. If you haven't seen Troll 2, that's real.
Wait a minute, Lane. Neil Bogg. It's goblin spelled backwards. But
we are the worst.
And so there is an annoying new guy on the job who doesn't listen to the security guard, and he gets too close to the gremlins, and he has this fantasy.
Goblins, hobgoblins. You just said gremlins.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, it's a ripoff of
Gonna
gremlins.
get sued.
Yeah, and he gets too close to the hobgoblins.
Right.
And he fantasizes he's a rock star like Bruce Springsteen, and they off him. And then the old guy's got to cover this up.
And seriously, the old guy, I mean, the old security guard is like 1,000 fucking years old. I've never seen anyone that old. It's insane.
But this leads to our hero of the film, Kevin.
Our hero.
Which, please note, if you're going to name your hero anything, it should be like Butch or something. Or Rod. I don't know.
I think Kevin's all right. At least it's a real name.
Brawny man kind of name. I don't know.
At least it's a real name.
And he is just kind of a normal guy.
I can only imagine what the hero would have been named these days.
Bulk Thunder.
Brycity.
Oh, you're going that route.
Oh, yeah. Like with like
Topher.
names. Names are like so weird now. I can't even.
Tajin.
Tajin. There you go. Nailed it.
He gets the job because he wants to impress his girlfriend and show that he's like a man.
A man,
his
baby.
girlfriend Amy, who is not. This is where we get another delightful thing about our Pantheon movies. She's shown to be like pure because she doesn't want to do it, and that makes her a good person.
Come on, Amy, you act like you don't even want to do it.
What do you think about that, Elaine?
I think it's gross. I mean, there's nothing. It's funny. Like it's all just like white noise to me at this point. Like I'm usually in the mindset like if I'm watching an '80s movement. Or an 80s movie, I know there's nothing feminist about that shit. Like there is not going to be anything for me in it in that sense, because I always look to see if these things hold up. And like the 80s was just a very dark time where like we pretended that women were empowered, and like it just was a fucking lie. Like because you see this in a lot of like middle grade literature too, where like just this era was just like the fucking dark ages, like with like Sweet Valley High books. Like they're so misogynistic, but they seem so empowered. Like I think we're supposed to glean something from the character of Daphne where she's sex positive in a way, but they also make her a buffoon. Like she's whorish, like she's a joke. So it isn't sex positivity in possibly what its intention was. I mean, it could just be fucking misogynistic from the get-go, and that's, I mean, I understand that too.
Daphne, we have your test results. I'm afraid you're positive for sex.
You know what I'm saying, though? Sex positivity.
Yeah.
Sex positivity is a thing. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a thing. And then we get introduced to the rest of our motley crew here. So we have
the gang's all here.
Kevin and Amy, and then sex crazed Daphne. Their dorky friend Kyle, who just can't win with the ladies. And then we get introduced to the military boyfriend, Billy.
Yeah.
And as soon as he comes into the film, he is so sex deprived.
Right.
And, well, maybe depraved a little bit. I don't know.
We don't know what he's into.
And so is Daphne, that they immediately run into his van and just start going to Pound Town. And the van is shaking and making funny noises, and you're just, it's one of these, it's the type of film that really tries to be funny, but fails horribly, and that makes it even more agitating. Like, to me, I would love a film that tried to be sincere and failed horribly. With a movie like this, when they try to make it funny, that they're not truly taking it seriously, and it's just annoying.
Yeah, because they're trying to come out on top no matter what. Like,
It's a scam in a way.
And there's something beautiful about like putting your heart and soul into a film. And if you fail, that's okay. Like if you fucking fail, that's fine. But what makes especially a good B movie is if you thought you were going to change the world with it. And it's sad when it does become something else, when it does become a B movie. But that's the only way to me that a real B movie can actually be called that. And I've said that many times on this show, but it's just true.
Well, and Lane, you pointed out how, this film is a bit sexist, and it's a classic cheaply made exploitation film, and it has that look. Like, have you ever wondered why some films just look gritty and nasty looking? There's two reasons. It's the film stock and the lenses.
Yep.
And I'm sure they shot this on cheap recycled 16 millimeter film stock.
Oh, I bet it was recycled. I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's a good point.
And they used horrible lenses. Mm-hmm. We mentioned a couple weeks ago on our Halloween episode, and one of the things that John Carpenter really put a lot of money in is he wanted the best lenses that he could.
Yeah.
I mean, not only because it would give the film a professional look, but I also think what he didn't mention was that they're also shooting a lot of scenes at night, probably with not enough lights.
Oh, yeah.
So you need the best lenses to really capture as much as you can, but
as much as possible, you need that.
But the basis of the film is that Kevin's gonna accidentally release, these gremlins, hobgoblins into the world. But before that, we need to prove that he's not a man like Billy.
Right.
So we have arguably the funniest scene in the history of movies. It's right up there with Tommy Wiseau's freak out in his house where he throws his TV out the window and shoots himself.
Yes.
And right up there with Piss on Hospitality in Troll 2.
It's a winner.
There is a rake fight.
And it's iconic, like it was funny when we talked to Darren mentioned it.
Yeah. Lane, can you break down the rake fight a little bit for us?
So I mean,
rake fight.
It's something that like is so ridiculous that I don't understand how it even happened. Like it's too long of a scene for sure, but for reasons I don't know, Nick and Kevin, because you've been calling him Billy, but that's the actor's name, right?
Yes, yeah. My apologies to our audience. I've been calling the actor's name, not the character's name.
Such a big Billy Frank fan. But
love you, Billy.
But Nick and Kevin spar with a rake, and then the other instrument's a garden hoe, I'm pretty sure, because it's like flat.
Don't talk about Daphne that way.
Why are you the actual worst? But like it's so long, and then just for all that, Kevin just loses, and I guess that's like to start his arc.
Yeah, because he's humiliated and emasculated in front of his lady.
Yeah, but like, who's really grading on like the skills of a rake fight? That seems stupid to me as a woman.
This is all happening in the front yard, by the way. You're missing some of the glorious details.
See, I don't enjoy it like you do.
Well, this is like when Spock fought Kirk, in that one episode of Star Trek.
Oh, Jesus.
Whereas if we do not fight each other, Jim, they will kill us both.
Oh, my God.
And they're just like going back and forth and just, nailing the two pieces of wood together. And each time the music goes bang, bang.
It's so random.
And the music hits that note every single time they connect. And isn't there a flash frame every time they hit, too?
I don't know. I didn't think it was a flash frame. I felt like it just like they played with the speed a little bit, maybe slowed it down a bit, maybe. I don't know.
And the key thing is this all, if the rake scene has to happen, it could have been done.
Sure.
It could have been done in 30 seconds. This scene goes on for, now I didn't clock it precisely, but I think 2 hours and 17 minutes.
No, I think it was actually 4 days. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because the guy who directed this film, he's not the most prolific director I've ever seen, but he had some work under his belt by the time he had created this. And you would think someone who had worked on a couple of films before would just have a better sense of timing and pacing.
Right.
I would think that would just be a little bit more like engrossed in his skill set, and I guess I was wrong.
Yeah. And after this glorious rake fight, which if you don't watch anything else from this movie, so if you're listening to this episode and either you're just coming in cold because you're a fan, I thank you.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the show, that's amazing. But
if you kind of like maybe I'll listen to their breakdown of this, and if it sounds really bad enough, maybe I'll check it out. If you watch nothing else, YouTube Hobgoblins 1988 rake fight.
Yeah, just Google it.
You have to see this. It's a thing of beauty. But after that rake fight, the next day comes around, and Kevin is chasing down a thief on the lot and stumbles upon the Hobgoblins and accidentally releases them. And this is one of the first times we get a look at them.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is when you have that, oh no.
Yeah,
moment.
and I mean, this is a common issue throughout film history. You have a situation sometimes where, things don't work as much as you wanted. I think Jaws is a good example that I think that's pretty much something everyone's familiar with. Like they had a lot of problems with the Jaws shark, like the animatronics. So what happened was like the shark was supposed to be in the movie a hell of a lot more than it was, but Spielberg had to scale it back because it looked so bad in extended shots. It just wasn't a possibility. So, I mean, you see other filmmakers having this problem and you just see them deal with it differently. And it's a shame because the makeup artist who created the Hobgoblins, he went on to do other stuff, but it's all like schlocky B-movie stuff. Like he was the guy on Jack Frost, the snowman one, I think,
So he's responsible for the snowman shower rape scene.
I guess, I mean, not the rape scene necessarily. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But
well, I'm assuming he made Jack Frost.
No, I'm talking about like the designer.
Yeah.
Like the special effects designer.
Which I'm sure he designed Jack Frost.
Yeah, I mean, he might have.
Now, he didn't write the rape scene, but he's
but I think he
did
I think he did the snowman, yeah. Yeah. His, what's his name? His name is Frank something, did I see? Yeah, Jack Frost is one of his credits here, and yeah, it's or Kenneth Hall. That sounds like Frank, right?
Yeah,
no, his name's Kenneth Hall. My mistake, everyone. Sorry,
nailed it. But yeah, so we see the Hobgoblins here, and Lane, I'll disagree with you a little bit here. I think in quick shots in Jaws, the shark looks real. That it's when they prolong on the shots, you say, "Oh, it looks fake." Yeah. I don't think even a quick shot in Hobgoblins would work.
Oh, I thought you were going to disagree with me about Jaws. I was like really ready to fight you. I was like ready, like my stomach hurt a little bit. I was like, I don't want to argue.
We had an episode like 6 weeks ago where we both said it's one of our favorite movies. But yeah, no, they realized that even quick shots or different lighting techniques wasn't going to work. So. Like I said, they just leaned into it,
right?
And let's make it funny, and they're not supposed to look that funny or that great because we're being funny, and we're
just so funny and madcap. See how funny it is. We're not taking it seriously. This isn't our hopes and dreams. We don't have any feelings. We're fine. Everything's fine.
I'm fine. I can quit drinking whenever I want. So
let's move a little bit on here. So let's talk about the nightclub scene. How do we get to the nightclub, my friend?
Well, the Hobgoblins, we were only introduced to Kevin and his group of buds.
Right.
And for some reason, because I'm assuming they read the script, the Hobgoblins, when they break out, go to Kevin's house.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a thing.
What?
They want some snacks.
Well, let's think about this.
They want some soup. They want to take a dumpski.
He doesn't... Throw a diamond in the Chris Jericho box there.
Dude,
line thief.
I'm a thief. It's fine.
But yeah, they have no reason to go to his house. He doesn't live near the studio. The script required the Hobgoblins to go after the only characters we know.
It's true.
And it's exactly what they do. It's so badly written.
It is. I mean, it's a shame because, like I said, there was so much control on the part of the filmmaker, but that was not a good thing,
Yeah, Kevin's friends are throwing kind of like a house party, and a group of people that would never hang out, like under normal circumstances. And the one character is obsessed with Sex Hotline.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And what was his name? Lane, find his name for me.
So the Sex Hotline one?
Yeah. And he starts fantasizing that the Sex Hotline person wants to meet up with him.
Is it the nerdy one? Is it Kyle?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going to lead to his death. because
right.
even though they have like razor sharp teeth and they can kill you themselves, they convinced the Kyle guy that the sex hotline woman is meeting him like at the bluffs for like sexy good times.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to push his car off of the side of the cliff because they live in Los Angeles. You know, so there's lots of bluffs and mountain ranges. And
California, you baffle me.
and the thing is, if you're a hobgoblin and you have this man basically under your trance,
Yeah.
why not just bite his throat out? Why go through all this trouble? Because the hobgoblins are little. They can't really get the car off the cliff. They're like, oh, fuck, come on, fuck. You know, just go.
Maybe,
You know?
maybe we taste better if we're afraid.
How are they going to eat him? The car's going to go off the hill and explode. They won't even be able to eat him.
That's true. It's just about salty murder. I really don't know.
Yeah, they just like to kill.
It's their thing. You know, we all need
they're
hobbies.
big game hunters.
We all need hobbies, John.
They're like the Trump boys, you
They're
know?
poachers.
Yeah, they're like the Trump boys. They like killing animals that are endangered to feel good about their tiny wieners.
There you go. All right, we solved the mystery.
But, you know, that's when Kevin meets up with him. He goes, you were about to kill yourself, man. Shake out of it. And he explains the whole hobgoblins to him. They go back to the house. They gather up the rest of the crew, sex-crazed Daphne. And
Of course. They don't
yeah.
forget Daphne.
And the military guy, her boyfriend, and Prude. What's her name? Amy?
Yeah,
What?
Amy and then her boyfriend, Nick.
Yeah.
Daphne's boyfriend, Nick, I mean.
Daphne's boyfriend, yeah. And they end up at a nightclub. Now, Lane, why do they go to the nightclub? Oh, come on.
I don't remember.
It's because Amy had a fantasy because of the hobgoblins.
Oh,
and apparently
that's right.
her fantasy is to be a whore.
Yeah, well,
because
because
the whole-
that's what every woman is supposed to want, apparently. Like this movie, so sexist.
Well, she's so prudish in the movie and very like buttoned up and like, oh my God, I can't believe Daphne. She's so crazy. You know, and Kevin's like, well, you know, maybe we could try like to just smooch or something. And she's like, no,
I'm good.
yeah, I'm just so pent up. I have sand in my vagina. You know,
I'm frigid. That's my theme.
and apparently her fantasy is to be like a gigantic whore.
Yeah, you know.
And
That's everyone's thing. It's fine.
Which leads her to a strip club in the seediest part of Seedy Town.
It is yucky.
Yeah.
It looks like you could maybe pick up a disease there.
And they find out she's there. And, of course, they get mugged walking into the place.
I mean, like you do.
Yeah. Which I actually thought was one of the only times the comedy actually landed for me. When they said, just to be safe, we should all just give all of our wallets to one person. And they all hand them to the one guy, and then a guy turns a knife on him, and he just hands all the wallets to the guy.
Yeah, man.
That was actually kind of funny.
That was a good line.
But, you know, they end up in the nightclub, and who is the DJ for this nightclub?
The DJ?
Kind of the host, the
You mean the MC?
Yeah.
It was our good buddy Daran.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he this is one of the was this his first movie? Did he
said
say
one of them, if not one of the, you know.
Yeah, this was very early in his career, so this was one of his like first real experiences and everything. And so he kind of like understood what the character like expectations were, and he just like said that, you know, it was script, but he just, you know, mostly ran with it. So
It's called Club Scum.
yeah, you know, that's why you would call something that I don't know, but okay.
And it leads to a gigantic fight with the hobgoblins and our heroes inside the bar. After what felt like 40 minutes of setting up the scene, and I know that I'm one of those people that says like, oh, they never create tension or character development or really let things marinate. But this is the complete opposite, where the film just comes to a screeching halt while we watch performances on stage and our characters having drinks. It almost just felt like the crew was like, hey, guys, what if we just convince the director one day that we need to get a bunch of B-roll of us drinking so we can just like drink free beer on set?
Dude, maybe that's what happened. I like that hustle. I like it.
But yeah, of course, the hobgoblins come in to ruin the party.
Like they do.
And in the process, Nick starts to have a fantasy that he's like back in the war.
Yeah,
and he's
that's
killing
right.
people. And he starts throwing grenades in this club to like kill the... So, wait, the hobgoblins gave him a fantasy that he was going to kill them?
Yep.
Which he's actually trying to kill them?
Yep.
I'm starting to think this isn't a very good movie.
So I mean, I appreciate your attention to the finer details, but let's broad stroke it up a little bit. So we see the couple lines that Daran has. This is his only part in the movie, sadly.
And eventually the Hobgoblins are not defeated completely, but enough that they're able to
Beaten
escape.
back.
Yeah, and they end up back at the movie studio, but they're not back in the vault. But the old man who has been out of the movie since the beginning of it, essentially.
I was worried he died while he was gone.
Yeah, he just died during production.
1,000 years old.
Yeah, he points out, and this is another film's attempt at humor, where he goes, "You know what I did in the army? Explosives." And he blows up the abandoned movie studio building, killing the Hobgoblins.
Why didn't they just do that
from the beginning?
You know? Yeah.
I'm starting to think this isn't a very good movie. But yeah, this movie is beyond a mess, and it ends once again with like Daphne and her boyfriend Nick like having sex.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Amy, all of a sudden, now that she sees that her boyfriend is a man, baby, is suddenly like, okay, now that I know that you got a set of balls on you, maybe I'll consider like having sex with you like the way Nick and Daphne do. And he's like, hooray!
Hooray!
I'm going to have sex now. And then
so the film, all about taming that strange. That's all this movie was about.
And then the film ends with Kyle asking the old security guard to use his phone because he wants to call for more phone sex. Yakety schmackety bee. And the movie ends. And it's interesting that this film became so known for being a mystery science theater film because it's harder to make fun of, I think, a movie that is trying to be humorous. I think it's much easier to make fun of bad sincerity.
Right.
Like the thing about Tommy Wiseau, no matter how much he tries to do retroactive continuity and say it was always supposed to be a dark comedy, which there's nothing funny about the movie, and even in a dark way, is that he was, I make big American movie. This isn't Mickey Mouse shit. I make great movie. This is Tennessee Williams.
Right.
He had no idea that what he was making was hot garbage, and that is it makes it so much easier to make fun of and to be silly. Like when a movie is clearly using the trump card of it's funny, so you can't really make fun of us.
Yeah, no, we're laughing at ourselves first. It's like when that one kid first, when that one kid in school just makes fun of themselves so that nobody else will do it, Like that's what they're doing. That's what this is.
Like the kid that like is about to crap his pants in the classroom and goes, "Hey, guess what, everybody? You know what I think about this class? I think it's full of shit, and I'm gonna crap my pants to prove it. Take that, school." And like, did you just have to crap?
Was there a lot of pants crapping in your school, friend?
And you know what I'm saying?
I do. I think my analogy of just the kid that makes fun of themselves first so no one else can was fine. I'm not sure that we needed this crap pantsing diagram that you drew for us, but it's okay.
Lane, it's called the Pantheon of Utter Shit, and we owe our audience one poop reference.
Only the best for you, dear listeners.
So yeah, it's like I said, I was frustrated with the comedy because I thought it was just a cheap out.
Yeah,
and it makes it harder to talk about. But yeah, everything about this movie fails, and
it's just a shame.
I feel that we sometimes don't focus enough about that on the Pantheon. Like, what were his utter failures? And I don't know if there was one in particular. I don't know if it was the script that made no sense, the plot conveniences that made no sense, the horrible acting, the completely flat shots, the horrible locations that they shot in, how cheap the film stock looked, how bad the puppetry was. How
sexist as hell it was. How one-dimensional all the characters were. Like, there's a lot wrong here, and I think too, like, we don't talk about this enough on Pantheons either, but like, it is really hard to make a good movie. So that's why a lot of these films don't get it right. But it's interesting that, there was at least one actor who went on to have such a huge career. I mean, like, Daran's the only one that did anything else, like, worth a shit, like he, and
the
for
bouncer
him to,
has done some stuff, a little bit, nothing like Daran.
But I mean, for him to have gone on and done, and I swear I'm not just like butt kissing, but he really is the only name in the thing now where he's had like other credits,
So that's Hobgoblins in a nutshell.
It's a very abbreviated version.
It's definitely worth checking out. I'll tell you right now, it's one of those movies that's so bad that nobody cares enough about it that it's on YouTube and it's never going to be taken down.
Yeah, if you're a B movie when no one gives a shit that you're on YouTube, right? That's another hallmark of it. And it's, if nothing else, look up that rake scene. You won't be sorry.
But I would say check out the whole movie. It's only like 80 minutes, which is also another bad sign.
It's painfully short. Sometimes short just is not good.
Well, you know what it is? They said to themselves, we only have 90 minutes of film stock, so we have 10 minutes worth of error.
That's never good.
And we're going to just make, if this is how much film stock we have, this is how long the movie's going to be.
It's true.
It's true. That, like, get in, get out, try to turn as much of a profit as you can. You don't care how good it is, and move on to the next cheap movie.
Yeah. And just roll it again. So.
And Mystery Science Theater made him famous. I think everybody kind of forgot about this, and then Mystery Science Theater brought him back to fame.
Agree.
That's where I first saw this. That's why I suggested we do this movie for one of our Pantheon episodes. It's like, oh man, that's one of the first Mystery Science Theater episodes I ever watched.
That's really cool.
Was Hobgoblins.
That's really cool.
And that's how I learned about it.
All right, so I feel like we're hobgoblined out, my friend. I think we need to throw things over to us, but us with Daran Norris of Hobgoblins. We talk a little bit about his career, a little bit about Hollywood, and just some of the projects he's worked on. So
doing acting and voice acting and everything. Yeah, this is an amazing interview and quite the honor. So let's cut to the second part of our episode here. Over to Daran, and then we'll be back to do our little closer close.
Yep. Enjoy the interview, guys.
Do you like the solar system?
Yeah, it's quite cool, planets and stuff.
All right, well, just want to thank Daran Norris to coming on to talk with us here. 2/3 of your Cinema Psycho show. We are having an episode coming out soon on Hobgoblins, but obviously you've had quite the amazing career, so wanted to do a little bit more than just talk about that, but that would be a little bit what we talk about. So, Daran,
you can do 20 minutes on Hobgoblins. That's fine.
Why don't you tell our audience, like, did you always know that you wanted to go into acting, or is it something? Was it always been a calling, or was it something that you kind of came across over time?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure that I always knew, but I knew pretty early on. Yeah, I mean, I'm the kid that would come home, plop himself in front of the TV, and watch whatever was on until my dad yelled at me that I was wasting my time. And I grew up in Northwest Washington State, so we had Canadian broadcast feed. So I had Monty Python and all of the BBC programs. So it was actually some excellent TV to grow up on. Yeah, it wasn't just the Munsters, but I still like the Munsters. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, I know, a lot of people would be familiar with your face, but you do voiceover work as well. How does that? How do the two differ, voice work and acting? Some people
would say I do on-camera work as well. Voiceover work. I'm sorry, Elaine. Say that one more time. What was the question?
Just differences, between voiceover and camera work,
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's interesting. In some respects, you're using the same thing, the same instrument, the same all of that stuff, but they're entirely different disciplines. They're entirely different crafts. No one would cast me as a 4-foot female doc hag on camera, but I can do that on a cartoon. And it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter, how you have to contort your face to get whatever voice or noise that is out of it. But they are entirely different disciplines. And even the stage is a different I still do a lot of stage work and where I learned, how to do what I do, basically. And even that is a completely, although more similar to on-camera stuff, obviously. But, yeah, it's all very different,
Do you prefer one over the other, or does it just depend on what the project is?
No, what I prefer is the variety of it. I love to be able to do both. I've had such great fortune to be able to do both for a long time. And I didn't do any stage stuff for, almost 20 years. And then I sort of got the bug again, and my partner was in a show, and I said, hey, you know what, I think I should do that show with you guys. And it's been great. It's been great. I'll plug the show later. Yeah.
Please do, yes.
All right. Yeah, I don't have a preference. Yeah, I really don't. Yeah.
Now,
having said that, though, sorry.
Go ahead.
Nothing like being in a room of extraordinarily funny and gifted, talented people recording a cartoon in about an hour and 15 minutes, as opposed to 16 hours on a set where 98% of that is spent waiting around. Yeah, so the experiences are very different too. But yeah, as far as fun goes, there's nothing like doing cartoons. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, obviously, we're big fans of Team America. How did you get the role of Spotswood in Team America, and what was it like working on that film?
That's another good question. I remember this very well, and it's a great story, mostly because it's so self-congratulatory. But I got a call. It was the same day. They said, hey, can you go down to Venice? And I don't live anywhere near Venice Beach. This afternoon at 4:00 for this audition. I'm like, I'm so spoiled. I don't want to drive the hour and 10 minutes or whatever it is there on a Thursday afternoon and then fight traffic for 2 hours back for some audition. And then they said it was Matt and Trey's thing. And I went, oh, yeah, I'll be there. So, and I get there and I sign in, and then I walk in the room and I have my little sides with me, and they have a camera. So they're taping it. And I thought, well, that's okay. I'll just do what I would do in an on-camera audition. So that didn't throw me, thankfully. And so I read it. They said, thanks very much. Nothing, no notes, no second takes, no nothing. Walked out of the room. By the time I got to my car, they were on the phone with me saying, go to South Park Studios. You're recording this right now. So the whole thing was they were both watching on the feed. They had the feed at their office. And they basically went, yeah, him. And from that moment on, it was great. And literally, I told my agents, I said, I don't care what it is I'm doing. I don't care if I'm in a session. Pull me out of it because I want to do this, whatever I'm doing. Yeah. No. So now, how I kept it, I have no idea. But I'm sorry. It was. Sorry. I can't say enough about those guys. They are phenomenally talented. They have just this boundless energy, and those 2 days that we recorded the original script, which is very different from what they ended up shooting for the most part, it was just a complete joy fest. They would riff and improv, and I would just sit there and laugh and then do my line, and they would do everybody else's lines, and it was just a temp track at the time. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Now that character, I can tell just by listening, is very similar to your actual voice. Is it easier to do voices similar to yourself, or is it more fun to just completely different range or tone when you're doing voice work?
I don't know. I think it depends on the project. For that, yeah, that's really, you're right, John. That's easy access for me. All right, John, I have an incredible offer for you. That's that, yeah. Whereas Cosmo, something like that, it's a whole different ball game. First of all, it's really loud, right? So that's more difficult, but it's certainly a lot more fun, because it's just so big and goofy and sort of over the top without going over the top. So, yeah.
Well, rewinding in your career a little bit now, since we are going to do a Hobgoblins episode. How did you get involved with Hobgoblins?
Another great question. Okay, what year did that come out? Do you guys know offhand?
I think 88, right?
Okay, that sounds about right, yeah.
I'm going to check the internets real quick just a minute.
Okay,
I think it was 88.
That. Yeah. So there used to be this thing called the Drama Log, and it would have, you could submit to student films and independent films, and that was at 88, by the way?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
yep.
Good.
I was right.
So I've only been in town for about, I think less than a couple years. And that's what we would do. I had headshots, and you just, submit to this thing. I went to the thing. It was one line. And and then they hired me to go do it, and then it turned into a bigger role. We shot for a couple of nights, I think, and again, that was my very first on-camera experience, and I learned so much on that project, having never been really in front of a camera before, never in that situation. And though it's, I mean, super low budge, like no budge, right? But still, I mean, it was a great experience for me. It was a really great experience. Yeah. And the fact that it has been lampooned by Mystery Science Theater 3000. What more do you want, really, in a career? To be in one of those movies. Anyway.
That may be the first place I saw it, actually. Was the Mystery Science Theater version.
Everybody should see it, actually.
Yeah, and considering that you have been involved in some, major big league productions and stuff, what is it, where does something like that fall, being involved in like a cult independent film, considering that you've been to the top of the echelon Hollywood style,
Oh, I don't know about that, but I don't know. I have to pinch myself sometimes, just for the opportunities to get a job that becomes something iconic, right? Fairly Odd Parents was a 7-minute short, and the voices that I did were totally different from the series that we did. So you never know. And I mean, that's part of that. I like to tell the story about auditioning for Team America, is that you don't know. You have no idea what it can turn into, or what it will be, or if the whole voice is going to change, or the project's going to change, or so that's really fun. It's just sort of showing up, doing what I do, bringing something to the party, and sometimes that turns into fantastic things, and I can take zero credit for that. Zero credit for that. Yeah, I showed up and did my part, and whatever success it has is completely, on the shoulders of somebody else.
Well, on that note, it looks like you were having like a lot of fun with the part now, and I just have a theory that a lot of that was you just kind of coming up with that character on the spot, maybe something that wasn't on the page. Is that a fair statement?
You seem like you're the only one having fun.
I know. I'm like 20. What am I? 25? No, not even 25. Anyway. Yeah, well, I mean, I sort of just based it on Joel Grey and Cabaret. When I saw I didn't even know what the outfit was supposed to be, and I saw what they had me wearing. I'm like, oh, okay, and then the makeup and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to be this weird, Dean Stockwell, Joel Grey sort of bizarre thing. And I did have fun. Like I said, I had a lot of fun. Yeah. Did we do any ad-libs? I don't think I ad-libbed at all in that.
Okay.
But, again, that character had one line to begin with. And then they just wrote a whole bunch more crap for me to do.
What? So basic on work. What do you have coming up? Any new projects or?
Please plug away.
Yeah, anything you want to plug or?
I have nothing. Somebody hire me, please. Let's see what's happening. We just finished. I just did some promos for the second season of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Where I've got to play the narrator and Evil Chicken and a few other people on that. It was great, great fun. And again, fantastic people in the room, fantastic talent in the room on both sides of the glass. And they did a bang-up job with the animation and everything. So, so that'll come out. That's Amazon Prime, Season 2 of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Veronica Mars is coming back for Hulu. They picked it up for 8 episodes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that is scheduled to start shooting in the very near future. I'm not sure when. I can't say for sure if I'll be involved.
I hope so.
I don't think I'm, spilling any beans there. But and another thing that you just have no idea, right? What will happen with that? And we've done a movie. We did 3 seasons of the show, and now we're doing more. So it's sort of incredible. Yeah. And what else is happening? What else is coming out? Oh boy, I had stuff written down so I wouldn't forget.
Say if you do, just
I'm doing
email me. I'll put it in the liner notes. I promise.
Okay, good. I'll also go. Oh, the stage show we're doing. It's called Chico's Angels. It's basically Charlie's Angels, but it's 3 Latino guys in drag. I'm not one of the guys in drag. I play a couple of the ancillary characters, but super funny at the Colony Theater here in beautiful downtown Burbank, November 15, 16, 17, and 18. Tickets available at chicosangels.com. It's great. It's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful theater and really, really funny show. So treat yourself.
Very nice. Well, I can't thank you enough for
what. That's it.
Hey, we said we're gonna keep it condensed.
Right. I know what I wanted. Yeah, I know you got what you needed out of me. No, it's my pleasure. You guys are extraordinarily kind and sweet and great questions. It's a treat. It's a real treat for me to do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have such a big star on our podcast. We're so excited.
I wish that was true.
All right, guys, we're back from the interview with Daran. That was just a really great opportunity John and I were able to take advantage of to talk to someone who really is working in the business.
Did you love it when he put my name in the Spotswood impression?
Listen, I almost crapped. It was incredible. So,
John, I have an amazing offer for you.
It was amazing. It was really cool. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Listening as much as we enjoyed, getting that put together for everyone. Again, thanks so much to Daran Norris for his time, and definitely look for him in other projects in the future, everybody. So
yeah, he's easy to find. Just IMDb him. Check out his other works.
You may be surprised, like what he's been in. From just stuff that you've already watched. He's done so much work, which is really cool.
So check out his work. Follow him on the social medias. Give him love. Give him attention. We're very grateful for having him on the show. So hopefully we can get him a little bit of boost, from our audience. It's the least we can do for him giving us his time.
Yeah, super cool. Super cool. But John, where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me at the Unreal J Wolves.
Awesome. You can also find me at LA_Croft. Our fearless Brian is not with us this week, but you can follow him at Brian Coddington, and he also runs the Psycho Show page. Be sure, everybody, to give us a like on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, interact with us on Google+. We're all on those platforms at Psycho Show. You can also find us at the Epicast Network. That's epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or a question you want to ask us, you can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. Be sure to subscribe. Those subscribes mean a lot to us, everyone, on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. And be sure to catch our new episode every Sunday.